This is a pickle. It looks like a pickle. It even tastes like a pickle because it's a pickle. This is a pickleball. And this is a pickleball paddle. They're not pickles, but they're in tremendous demand these days as the game of pickleball explodes here in the US and across the globe. Hi, everyone. Welcome to CFO IQ. I'm your host, Andy Zizas. We've got a very interesting show for you today, and we'll be joined today by the Senior Finance Executive at USA Pickleball. So stick around. Pickleball is everywhere these days. It's a paddle sport blending tennis, badminton, and table tennis, and it's played indoors or outdoors on badminton-sized courts with a slightly lower net than tennis. Pickleball is experiencing an unprecedented boom. It's becoming one of the fastest growing sports in the United States and beyond. In 2025, an estimated 36.5 million Americans played pickleball. And in 2024, the estimates were 19.8 and 10.2 million players respectively, far outpacing most other recreational activities. Now, participation isn't limited to casual play, and the global pickleball market is expected to continue its tremendous growth. The sport's appeal now spans generations, with the average player age dropping and players aged 25 to 34 becoming one of the largest demographics. Pickleball courts and facilities are multiplying rapidly to meet the soaring demand, while competitive play and major tournaments continue to grow in size and visibility. Pickleball's combination of accessibility, social engagement, and competitive opportunities helps explain why its player base and cultural footprint continue to explode. USA Pickleball is the official national governing body of the sport. It's a not-for-profit 501c3 and is dedicated to preserving pickleball's integrity and driving its growth nationwide. The organization sanctions top tournaments, certifies equipment and facilities, trains referees, and provides educational resources. USA Pickleball also maintains the official rules to ensure fair play at all levels. Today, we're joined by Keith Helmuth, Senior Finance Executive at USA Pickleball. Keith oversees financial controls for the company and reports on and delivers the financial results for management and USA Pickleball's board of directors. Keith's hometown is Coots, Indiana, home of the Coots Mustangs. Keith enjoys sports, which is why he's also drawn to pickleball and its great mix of competition, social aspects, and skill. By the way, Keith will also appear in a cover story of an upcoming issue of CFO Intelligence magazine. Today, Keith and I will discuss how finance contributes to the growth of this tremendous sport, pickleball, and the company itself, USA Pickleball. Keith, it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us on CFO IQ.
Andy, I'm thrilled to be here and talk all things pickleball.
So, thanks, Keith. So, let's jump into our conversation. Pickleball is exploding, not only here in the U.S., but also globally. But as CFO, I'd like to understand what are some of the challenges, the biggest challenges, I hope you'll share with us, that you've experienced in this very, very high growth sports industry.
Yeah, great question, Andy. I mean, I think for me and for us, the long-term strategic planning is a challenge when your sport and industry is growing so fast. You know, putting finances in there with a long-term plan. I mean, we are actively actually working on our strategic long-term plan. I mean, up till now, we've mostly focused on a year-over-year basis, to be quite honest. You know, we budget thoroughly, but looking out to the future, I mean, it's like, hey, you know, what do we want to do when we grow up, kind of thing. So we're working on that as we continue to mature as an organization. So I would say one thing is kind of the long-term planning, and then even year-over-year budgeting is a challenge, just because things change so much. You know, you start working on a budget halfway through the year for the following year, and by the end of the year, things are changing and developing. So that's a challenge, and then I'd say industry benchmarks is tough because there's really not much comparison. I mean, we're in the sport, we're in the industry of sports, but I mean, if you look at, some of the more popular sports now, I mean, if you get 10-15% growth in a sport, I mean, that's pretty significant. Basketball, football, soccer, those things. We're experiencing, 50% or plus growth year over year. So that becomes a challenge for us in the finance department as well.
I mean, I don't know how you budget for 50% growth. I mean, that's tremendous. So, sorry. So USA Pickleball is the official. It's not for profit, and it's the official governing body for pickleball in the United States. So you're responsible for a lot of things: promoting, growing, sanctioning the sport. How does USA Pickleball make money? Where do revenues come from?
Yeah, good question. I mean, we have really four areas of main revenues for us. So we have a membership base that continues to grow. We have about 100, and it's going to be 150,000 members here shortly. There's a couple different levels of our membership that continues to grow, and can touch on that later. So we have membership. We test equipment on the paddle that you showed there. There's a little stamp at the bottom. If you go buy a paddle, most paddles that you buy in the stores, will have that stamp on it. If you want to play in one of our tournaments, then you need to have a paddle that's tested. So that's the second area. Then we also have sponsorship partners, that continue to grow for us. There's a lot of, you had mentioned the stat earlier, about the growth, of the sport, but, it's also growing for, mainstream companies that continue to want to get involved with pickleball because they see the growth. So, that's another, area for us. And then, of course, the fourth area is our tournaments, which are exciting and fun and continue to grow. We have a big national tournament every year, and then we have a bunch of different regional tournaments, and then we have a lot of growth happening in that area as well.
Hmm. So, okay, so revenue's got a good balance. The sport is growing not just here in the US, but globally. So, given that USA Pickleball is here in the states, how is the organization influencing growth of the sport on a global basis?
Yeah, so on a global basis, there's a few areas. So we have influence with our rules. I mean, most of the countries, players, tournaments are following our rules, which we publish, on an ongoing basis and update those. So we have a rules book, and most places follow those internationally as well. We also have an influence on the equipment. Testing paddles is a big thing. And then I would say also, I mean, we have a voice in the Global Pickleball Federation, which is kind of the global standard organization. There's a couple of them, and there's like 77 countries that participate, in that, and so there's sharing of ideas and best practices and those kind of things. So we do have a couple people on, that are on our team that are very involved. In fact, I talked to Justin. He was employee one at USA Pickleball, and he's very involved internationally. And so I had spoken with him just a couple days ago and was asking him about, the international growth and what's going on there. So very interesting developments happening.
So let's talk about structure. How are governance and oversight structured at USA Pickleball?
Yeah, so I mean, overall, I mean, we're a nonprofit officially, 501(c)(3). So with nonprofits and we're held to a higher standard anyway, I would say, just because that's the nature of the way it's structured with a 501(c)(3) on reporting and public information and all that. But I will say, us specifically, I mean, our governance is very, very tight and very good. We have a very strong board of directors that have a wealth of experience. So within that structure of our board, it flows from that down to, the governance of, we have several subcommittees out of the board that there's employees on that as well, along with the board. So we have a finance committee, we have a strategic planning committee, we have a marketing committee, we have several other things related to HR and other facets, competition, many different things. So that's set up very well. So it goes from the board to subcommittees. Then we have a very strong CEO, Mike Neely, who is our head of our team, and I report to him. He comes from a very strong background of nonprofit, so he's awesome, and he's been very influential in helping us continue to grow and get things infrastructure in place. So it goes down to him, and then we have managers that run all of our different departments. I run the finance department, and we have a marketing head. We have competition head that kind of runs our tournaments and so on and so forth. And then from there, everybody's in charge of their budgets, and we have good policies and procedures in place that run our day-to-day operations.
So sounds like a rock solid structure. And it sounds like you've got, a diverse group of people running your organization and on the board. And, I find that interesting because you yourself have a very interesting background. You come from, the small to medium high growth private company world. And, coming over to a not-for-profit, it's a very interesting twist. What are some of the nuances in managing the finances for a not-for-profit company that you see versus what you experienced in the past?
Yeah, good question, Andy. I mean, it's interesting because I've been on the job a few months here, and when I interviewed with the team, and and Mike in particular, Mike Neely, one of the things that was important to him that he saw in my background was small, high growth private companies. So I think he was kind of looking for that in his head of finance, in particular. He said many times, we have a small company environment. It's important that, we fit into that. So that's right up my alley. So we hit it off right away because of that. And we're able to chat about many things. So for me, I've come to many companies where there's maybe not a lot of things in place, and so I've had to set up a lot of infrastructure. Fortunately here at USA Pickleball, we had a really strong, previous to me, controller who retired. She had a lot of things, great things set up already. So I inherited a very, already well-running finance machine here. So that was fortunate. The things that are different, I'd say day to day, it's running a company like any other private company. We have weekly check runs. We have, we receive payments in, we send payments out. We have monthly reporting, to our board and finance committee. We close the books every month. Standard things that our controllers, CFOs do all the time and oversee that. The nuances come, with a nonprofit are just some of the terminology and then the reporting that you do. So, instead of a standard tax return, you're filing a not-for-profit tax return. When we do our annual review our CPA firm, we have an outside review done by them. If you looked at those financial statements, some of the terminology, is a little different. Private company, you have, income, expenses, net income, and a 501c3 or nonprofit, your net income becomes termed as net assets growth. So that's kind of the bottom line. And then, last I'd say for us, financial geeks, in the balance sheet, on a typical private company, you have owner's equity, shareholder equity. That becomes change in net assets is kind of like the terminology. That's some of the differences between private and 501c3s.
And I'm sure it keeps you on your toes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. We like to, we report on our financials monthly. We like to report budget to actuals and track our differences. And we have managers and all the line down our staff involved in that. So I really like the structure that's in place here.
We spoke earlier about budgeting. I mean, when you've got the kind of tremendous growth you have year over year, how do you manage that budget process?
It's a challenge, and I would say this is my first, go around as we now are starting to actually in a couple months here, we'll start to put together our budget for 2027. When I came on board late last year, there was already a detailed budget, put in place, and I was very impressed what the team had done. I mean, there's a lot of input, a lot of details and research and, explanations for justifying the budget that all go into rolling up into a final budget. And our board of directors and our finance committee ask great questions, and so we revised our budget a couple times before we finally finished it right before the end of the year. So the challenges are things that are changing, I mean, sometimes we don't have the answers inside of our main revenue line items that could change, within a couple months. It's like, hey, maybe we had a main sponsor for our nationals tournament, and maybe that changes, that kind of a thing. So,
Or
we made some updates, and then, my goal is to, make sure that we, continue to build on a healthy long-term plan, build up a bit of a war chest, so that we can make sure we're healthy and strong for the long term.
Hmm. So as USA Pickleball grows and builds its membership staff, I'm sure the organization itself is supporting other organizations. Are there any in particular that USA Pickleball focuses more on, or and are there any that you're passionate about?
Yeah, I love this question because we have a very strong team in place that we coined it our pickleball USA Pickleball serves. It's on our website and we have impact reports on there. We're all about building community through the sport of pickleball. And we're very passionate about building it at a youth level, especially for maybe underprivileged youth. So we have a grant program, and in fact, they asked for, team members to, serve on it and new team members. So I was jumped at the chance, because I, really wanted to be involved with that. I'm involved with several other charitable organizations, with me and my wife. So, I was happy to do that. So we just actually went through a round where we approved 40 grants of mostly schools, underprivileged areas. We have a kind of a grading system, for that. We want to be able to impact the most kids as possible, and so we gave away 40 packages, which includes like nets, paddles, balls, a few other things that schools can apply through our grant program. So we gave away like 40 of those packages, and I think we estimated it touched the lives of like 40,000 kids through that. And as a, like we have stats on accumulating, and so we figure we've touched the lives of like 500,000 kids and youth, and
So it's like in just one program and 500,000 overall.
yeah. Yeah, and in over 40 states of our 50 states here in the US as well.
Bravo, bravo. That's tremendous. That's you know what that says a lot about the organization. I'm sure it makes it a lot more enjoyable for you to be part of management there.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So with the rapid growth and the tremendous increase in membership, where does growth go from here? Where do you see the largest growth opportunities are for the sport and for the company?
Yeah, so, within those 4 core areas that I had mentioned is we are growing within those because we feel like those are our core competency. Membership, our tournaments, equipment testing, and our, partner sponsors. So within that, our growth is really focused, first of all, on I mean, the youth side of the growth of pickleball is unbelievable. So we're very involved, like, with, college and high school programs all the way down to, younger kids. Because that's I mean, you had mentioned the stat when we started, I think, of, the average age. It continues to go down because so many young kids are playing it. So we have somebody, a new team member, that's just focused on college, So she goes out and there's a lot more colleges sanctioning pickleball as a sport. That's important. High schools, tournaments. In fact, in our regional and national tournaments, we have a huge amount of youth playing in those now, which is awesome to see. So I'd say, within like that we have youth growing, so that's a big focus for us. The other thing that's exploding and is really within both our touches both our membership and our tournaments is league play. I mean, there are so many cities and places, probably in your town and definitely here in Phoenix, Scottsdale. I mean, there's leagues going on everywhere, so that's getting added, and so that's something we're very involved with and is a big growth area. And then in our equipment testing area, we're starting to, I'm sure you see it and I see it. There's so many facilities getting built, new facilities, that are coming online all the time. So now we're getting asked to like, hey, can you come and review our courts, and our facility and our lighting and our nets and all those things. So that's part of equipment testing, but that's a new area of growth that we haven't seen before. And then finally, I'd say in our sponsor partner area, I mean, you're seeing a lot more mainstream, bigger companies come down into the sport. I mean, like names like, Skechers. I mean, they're a sponsor of ours. And they came on the scene doing pickleball shoes and other things, not, maybe 2 years ago. Tommy Bahama is they jumped in the space, and they're a big sponsor of ours. So, even like Sandals Resort, they have pickleball courts now at most of the resorts and they're a sponsor of ours. So that's another area of growth for us.
Wow. All right. So there's one question I've been dying to ask you. When a sport takes off like this, which doesn't really happen very often, and becomes as popular as pickleball has become, not just here in the U.S. but globally, the question that I'm sure a lot of people are asking is pickleball coming to the Olympics? And if so, what does that do for the sport worldwide?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot. And the answer is, we don't for sure know. I mean, we are involved and, we obviously want it to be in the Olympics. It's possible it could be in the Olympics by 2032. Definitely not 2028. It's possible, out another, 4 years after that. The challenge, there's a couple challenges for it to become really a fully fledged Olympic sport. It's growing crazy and it's growing internationally, but internationally has not yet caught up to where we're at in the States. So while there's like 77 countries in the Global Pickleball Federation, some of those are very small countries, with not, they're growing faster than the US, but it's going to take some time for them to catch up. And the other thing is probably 90%, maybe more, of the best players in the world are all in the United States. So I think while it's growing more rapidly overseas in most countries, even faster than it is now, they're behind. They'll catch up, and there's more and more international players, playing in our tournaments and all the professional at professional level. But it's going to take a little bit of time for that to happen. But 2032 is still several years away, so I could see it happening there. But it's anybody's guess at this point.
That would be very cool. So I guess my last couple of questions are: how often do you play pickleball?
Ah, yes. I'd like to say I'm the best player in Arizona, but I play recreationally and play with a group of weekend warriors. We're competitive. We're all about the same level. So that's a lot of fun. I do play with my wife with some couples, friends of ours, which is a good time. So she likes to play, and so we have fun there. And it's a cool thing about pickleball. I mean, you can find as much competition as you want, and it's such a social sport too. So it's a really good time. And then we do play some at the company too, and I would say, you know, um, most people play at the company at some level. There's some that are really good, and then we have others that play casually. So I'd say everybody has played some, and some more than others. We're starting to have some more company events where we're playing, which is a lot of fun. We had a holiday party where we played. We had a couple of courts at a local place, and that was a lot of fun.
Is proficiency in pickleball part of the job description for someone who wants to come work for the company?
Yeah, it's funny because when I interviewed with the company, they're like, "You don't have to play pickleball." I'm like, "Well, I do, so it's good. Just don't hire me based on how good I am." That's all I ask.
I'm a finance guy. I'm not a pickleball pro. Keith, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate your joining us today and sharing your thoughts, not only on finance and growth, but on the pickleball sport as well. It's been wonderful having you here.
I appreciate it, Andy. I was really thrilled that got asked for the opportunity, and it's been a blast.
Well, it's been great, and we're looking forward to seeing your cover story come out in CFO Intelligence magazine. So thanks again, Keith. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us here on CFO IQ. You are listening to Keith Helmuth, the Senior Finance Executive at USA Pickleball. If you'd like to learn more about Keith, visit USA Pickleball online or visit us here at CFOIQ.com. If you're a CFO at a great company and you'd like to share your insights as to how finance drives growth at your company, and you'd like to appear in a CFO IQ on camera interview, or if you're interested in appearing in a CFO Intelligence magazine story, contact me directly at andrew.zizas@CFOintel with two L's.com. This has been a CFO IQ on camera interview. I'm Andrew Zizas. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my pickle, and I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
For booking inquiries, please visit CFOIQ.com or email andrew.zizas@CFOintel.com.